Hey everybody, so Jon David had a good night last night, but then a little bit of a rough day today, and I'll kind of go through all of it. But he did get his skin closed today, so that's good. They're going to kind of check it back on Friday because he may or may not need to have it changed on how they're doing it. The cartilage bed underneath his skin has retracted a lot because he's been open for so long, and so they may have to take a different approach and strategy on how it heals. But as of right now, they were able to get all of the skin basically back together and stitched it all up. When they go back in and check it on Friday, if the cartilage isn't growing back together, then they'll have to go in and actually snip some of the stitches and do some adjusting on how it's going to go. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If the worst he gets is and by the way, the worst that'll happen with that is that the scar will look worse. And if that's the worst thing that happens, after all the other things that have happened with him, that will honestly be all right. But he got off Arctic Sun to do the skin closure and then has been off the rest of the day. So that is one of the goals that we've been working on for like the last couple of days. And so we were there. We're going to pray that he doesn't have another fever coming back and that his inflammatory response is starting on the downtrend rather than being where it's been kind of peaking. But for the hard part of the day was that he had some blood pressure swings. He has been pretty sensitive to volume. They wrung him out pretty good. Like if you think of a sponge, they diurese, meaning making him pee and get a lot of fluid off. And that's primarily for his lungs. They were trying to make sure that his lungs were dry so that way he can breathe. However, you can diurese them too much, and then that puts more strain on the heart because they do need fluid, no different than all of us when we get dehydrated. So he needed some fluid today as well as some blood because his H&H had gotten low because they pull a crazy number of labs on these kids. I think at this point I've tallied them up and I think he's had over 1,000 at this point. So it's a lot of labs. And so after he got the blood and the volume, he has been doing better. So now that he is off the Arctic Sun and they got him stable at around 5 p.m. and he's been pretty good since 5 p.m. Tomorrow will be trying to come on the VEC or the paralytic holiday, and we'll see how he handles those when we get there. But overall, he had I'll use the term that one of the NPs said, he had a reasonable day because we didn't want to jinx and say a good day. But he had a reasonable day. And then Hunter had himself a fun day at the beach. He caught himself a baitfish on the beach and then went fishing and just has been having a ball and doing what 3-year-olds do at the beach. So we are very thankful that he's still being able to, have a relatively normal 3-year-old summer. And again, if y'all want to give praises at church or at Wednesday night meetings, then feel free to share the praise that Jon David has been taking some steps forward. And again, they may not be huge strides, but we are happy that he's taking steps forward. But if y'all would pray for these 3 things, one, that he'll do well with the next steps coming forward, specifically the paralytic, because that will put stress on his body, same way that coming off the Arctic Sun and having the volume swings kind of put stress on him today. The good news is that he handled the stress, but we need to pray that he'll handle that next stressor, which is basically all of his muscles waking up. And he has been on paralytic for a very long time, so we're going to see how this works out. 2, that his systems will continue improving, specifically his heart, his lungs, and his kidneys, because those are the 3 systems that kind of determine how well he's going to do in recovery. And then 3, for all the kiddos and families with CHD, because this is not an easy journey for anybody. So if you would pray for them, not just here at Duke, but around the world, because this is something that happens to everybody around the world. So keep them in your prayers. But that's all I got for y'all tonight. Hope you have a good night. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. And Jon David, tell everybody bye-bye.